The morning was cold and quiet. The streets of the city were still wet from the night rain. People walked quickly, holding their coffee cups and umbrellas, rushing to their offices. No one noticed the man sitting beside the bakery door. His name was Jacob. His hair was messy, his beard unshaven, his clothes old and torn. A small cardboard sign beside him read, "I'm hungry but honest." Jacob had been living on the streets for almost a year. He once worked as a driver, but after an accident he lost his job, his home, and slowly everyone he cared about. Every morning he sat near that same bakery, hoping someone would drop a coin or give him a piece of bread. Sometimes he went the whole day without food, but he never begged. He always believed that one day life would change again. That morning, a black car stopped near the bakery. A woman stepped out, tall, elegant, wearing a blue coat and expensive shoes. Her name was Laura. She was a successful businesswoman who owned a fashion store nearby. Her eyes looked confident, but her heart had become hard after years of struggle. She believed people on the streets were lazy and didn't deserve help. She had seen Jacob many times sitting near the bakery, but never looked at him for more than a second. Laura walked inside the bakery, bought her coffee and breakfast, and left quickly. She was on her phone talking to a client. As she entered her car, her wallet slipped from her purse and fell near the bakery entrance. She didn't notice. The car drove away. Jacob saw it happen. For a second, his heart stopped. It was a beautiful leather wallet. He picked it up carefully, looked inside, and saw hundreds of dollars, credit cards, and a business card with the name Laura Benson, Fashion Studio. His stomach growled of hunger. He had not eaten since yesterday. With that money, he could buy food for a week, maybe even rent a small room. For the first time in a long while, he held something valuable in his hands. But Jacob's heart was honest. He looked at the sign beside him, "I'm hungry but honest." He whispered to himself, "I can't betray my own words." He waited there for almost 2 hours, hoping the woman might return. People passed by, but no one stopped. Finally, Jacob decided to walk to the address printed on the card inside the wallet. It was a few streets away. He walked slowly, holding the wallet close to his chest, praying he could find her. When he reached the fashion studio, the receptionist looked surprised to see a homeless man standing there. "Can I help you?" she asked nervously. Jacob said softly, "I found this wallet. It belongs to your boss." Before the receptionist could respond, Laura came out from her office. She saw Jacob and frowned. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. He stretched his hand, showing her the wallet. "You dropped it near the bakery," he said gently. Her eyes widened in shock. She checked her bag and realized her wallet was truly missing. She took it quickly and looked at him suspiciously. "Everything is still inside?" she asked, opening it. Every dollar, every card was in place. She looked at Jacob again, not knowing what to say. He smiled slightly and said, "You must have dropped it by mistake. I thought you might need it." For a moment, silence filled the room. The receptionist looked at Laura, expecting her to thank him. But Laura just nodded and said, "All right, thank you." She opened her purse and took out a $10 bill. "Here, take this." Jacob looked at the money, then smiled softly. "No, ma'am, thank you, but I don't want money. I just wanted to return what was yours." Laura stared at him, confused. "You don't want money?" He shook his head. "No, I just wanted to do the right thing." He turned and walked away slowly, leaving everyone speechless. That night, Laura couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the man who had nothing, yet refused her money. His face, his words, his calmness, it all echoed in her mind. She realized she had judged people like him without knowing their story. The next morning, she went back to the bakery. Jacob was sitting in the same spot, shivering in the cold. She stopped her car, walked up to him and said, "You returned my wallet yesterday. I didn't thank you properly." He smiled. "You're welcome, ma'am. I'm just glad you got it back." She sat beside him for a moment, something she had never done before. "How long have you been here?" she asked softly. "Almost a year. Lost my job after an accident. I'm just trying to start again." Laura looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "Come with me." Jacob hesitated. "Where?" She smiled kindly for the first time. "Just come." She took him to her office, gave him food, and offered him a small job, cleaning and delivery work at her fashion store. Jacob was shocked. "Are you serious?" he asked. She nodded. "You could have taken my money, but you didn't. I trust you more than most people I know." Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "Thank you." From that day, Jacob's life began to change. He worked hard, came early, stayed late, and never complained. He was always polite and helpful. Customers liked him. In a few months, Laura promoted him to manage the delivery team. He finally had a small apartment and a reason to smile again. Laura often thought about how a simple act of honesty had connected two completely different lives. She started a new campaign at her store called Kindness Always Returns. Every purchase helped fund meals and shelter for homeless people. Months passed. One evening, a reporter visited the store for an interview about the campaign. When he asked where the idea came from, Laura looked at Jacob and said, "From a man who taught me what true wealth means." Jacob smiled shyly, standing in the background. He didn't like attention, but deep inside, he felt peace. The kind of peace he hadn't felt in years. A few days later, while walking home, Jacob saw another homeless man sitting near the bus stop. The man looked weak and hungry. Jacob bought him a sandwich and said, "It's okay, brother. Things will change. Be honest, be kind, and life will surprise you." The man nodded with teary eyes. Jacob walked away, smiling at the thought that maybe kindness really spreads, like light from one candle to another. 1 year later, Jacob's story was shared on social media. People called him the honest hero. The post went viral. Donations started coming in for Laura's Kindness Always Returns Foundation. The city mayor invited them both to a community event where Jacob was awarded for his honesty. When he stood on the stage, dressed in clean clothes with pride in his eyes, he said only one line, "I was once hungry, but honesty fed my soul." The crowd stood and clapped. Laura looked at him with tears, remembering the day she almost lost her wallet and gained a friend instead. After that, Jacob started visiting schools and shelters, telling young people his story. "You don't need money to be rich," he said. "You just need honesty, kindness, and patience. Life will reward you when the time is right." As time went by, Jacob became more than just an employee. He became family to Laura. Every morning they shared coffee before opening the store. She would say, "You remind me why this place exists," and he would reply, "Because kindness always finds its way back." Years later, when Jacob retired, the store threw him a celebration. The staff, the customers, and even people from the streets came to thank him. Laura handed him a gift, a small gold watch engraved with the words, "For the man who returned more than a wallet, he returned hope." Jacob smiled, holding the watch close. His eyes sparkled as he said softly, "Thank you for believing in me." That night, sitting near the same bakery where it all began, Jacob looked at the stars and whispered, "I never imagined one honest act could change my life forever." He took a deep breath, smiled, and closed his eyes peacefully. The city moved on, but his story stayed, told by strangers, shared by schools, and remembered by hearts that still believe in good people. And somewhere out there, another lost wallet would fall, and maybe, just maybe, someone honest would pick it up, because Jacob's kindness had already lit 1,000 other candles. Moral of the story: no matter how small an act of honesty seems, the universe always sees it. Karma doesn't forget kindness, it just waits for the perfect time to return it.